name is Stephen Kohler. I am 35 years old, and I am a cancer survivor, twice over. In January 2019, I ended up at the emergency room. It was January 11th, and after over a year of severe abdominal pain, seeing the walk-in doctors, my family doctor, and multiple people telling me that it was probably just my diet, it was my lifestyle, and a variety of other things to try, which I had done. I had changed and switched things over for a while. But I remember that afternoon clear as day, and again, it was January 11th, and I was playing with my daughter, my youngest daughter. I threw her up in the air. When I caught her, I immediately collapsed and blacked out for a good 15 to 20 seconds. When I awoke, it felt like I was having a heart attack. I didn't know what was going on. And my wife had called the ambulance. Well, they rushed me to the ER. When I got there, I explained to the ER doctor my symptoms, and she immediately rushed me to a CT. And from that moment, I remember what happened. My wife had actually just gone to get something to eat, and when she came back, she was in tears. And I asked her what was wrong, but by that time, the doctor had come over to me, and my wife was completely distraught. And they basically just gave it to me straight. They told me that they had found a large mass in my intestines, and that I needed to undergo more investigations. After talking with a few doctors, they had figured it was cancer. They had diagnosed it and staged it at stage 2. After my colonoscopy, and biopsies, they had then staged it at stage 3 advanced. The mass was 9/7. It was a full 100% coverage of my intestines, and it was on the verge of hitting my liver and pancreas the way it was. From there, I had gone to see Dr. Wiseman, great surgeon. He was at Mackenzie Health, and they had performed a right hemicolectomy where I had lost about 3 feet of my colon. They had taken out roughly 16 lymph nodes, and 6 of which came back positive with cancer in them. From that point, I met my oncologist, Dr. Khanna, great guy. He had put a regimen together for me. It was 12 rounds of chemotherapy. I had undergone full Fox, and it was about 8 months, and the longest 8 months of my life. I was a fairly big guy, about 210 pounds, but at the worst of it, I was about 151, and it had taken a huge toll on me. Now, this story is a lot longer than what I'm going to be able to share with you right now. But me and my wife had just gotten married in October of 2018. I have 2 beautiful girls. My oldest is Skylar, my youngest is Sloan. And at the time, Sky was 6 and Sloan was about 1.5 years. And it was really tough when I got the diagnosis. But, I think I just kind of brushed it off almost, in a sense. I didn't really give into it. I knew that it was pretty serious, but I didn't think about it too much. I kind of just put my head down and kept going. So after those 8 months, a couple months later, I just kept doing my scans, my blood work, and unfortunately, my cancer had returned. Where they found it was multiple tumors. One had been back on my surgery, where they had sewn my colon back together, where the joint was. The other one was found in 2 other lymph nodes and another tumor that had started near my pancreas as well. Unfortunately, there was no real treatment plan for me. They had offered me palliative chemo, and at the time I was 30, and I didn't really consider that to be any option for me. Now, this was COVID. The world was upside down. Nobody knew what was going on. And Dr. Khanna had offered me a possible therapy treatment. It was an immunotherapy that had not been approved yet for colon cancers. At the time when I was diagnosed, I was 29. I've been self-employed since I was 23 years old. So it was a huge burden on my family financially. A lot of my friends got together, did some fundraising, and they were able to help us manage that year. But it was a really tough time for us, and we basically started back from zero again. But now I am 35. I have undergone, the 12 rounds of chemotherapy, and as it happens, when my cancer returned, what they found was that the immunotherapy was not available, in a sense, financially. It was too costly in Canada to do it. It was, over $10,000 a round, and we couldn't do it. But Dr. Khanna, which he was an absolute beauty, he got me in with his friend, Dr. Michael Rafel. He's at Sunnybrook, head GI over there, and I happened to get in with him on the very last day of intake. They had just had a spot open up, and Dr. Khanna called me. He said, "I need you to stop what you're doing and drive to Sunnybrook." So I had gone there that afternoon before the intake had closed at 4 o'clock. I made it at 3. I had done some paperwork, met with them over there, signed up, and I said, "Look, if there's a chance that this works, I'm in." And it was the DPX Survive Act trial, and I had done my biopsy, and they had found that I was a candidate. So being that I had an MSI high tumor, which is what they were looking for, but I believe the trial was for lymphoma and lung cancer, and I was one of the few patients with colon cancer. From there, they had given me the opportunity to try this treatment, and they didn't know what was going to happen. So I'd already had those 3 tumors that aggressively came back, and when I started the trial, I had done my first round, and after that first round, did some blood work, things were good, and by round 4 of my immunotherapy, everything had shrunk in half. That immunotherapy was essentially life-changing. Now, the trial was 2 years long. I had undergone over 36 rounds of the immunotherapy. During that trial, I had the DPX Survive Act vaccines injected into my legs. Unfortunately, throughout the trial, I had developed some bad reactions. I have abscess holes in my legs from there, but they continued to give me the pembrolizumab throughout the time, and my cancer has basically gone away. It's an incredible drug that happened to work for me, and not everybody it will work for, being that immunotherapies can be, detrimental to some people, to their treatment plans, but for me, it worked out. All of the doctors who looked after me really cared. They understood that I needed to survive, that I needed to live. And I think that when I got the opportunity to try this immunotherapy, and I knew full well that it was this or nothing, that I think I just put my head down like I did the first time and carried on. This immunotherapy, I was literally working the whole time, and not for anything, I just couldn't afford to not work anymore. So I think the biggest thing for me is if I can bring awareness to one person, then that, and I'm able to save that one person's life by explaining to them that you need to go get a colonoscopy, or you need to just continue with being vigilant with your doctors if you have pain, if you have symptoms. Colon cancer is not an old person's cancer anymore. The people that I've met along the way are, teenagers, elderly, middle-aged. There is no bias when it comes to cancer now. I think being that the environment and the food and lifestyles, things that we have now, the world has changed. And I think we have to be more diligent, and we need to be able to get early screening for younger patients, especially those with history of it, and have the doctors listen to patients when they say that they don't feel right and something isn't right. Blame anyone for not sort of finding this out sooner. I don't blame doctors. This is the system, it is what it is. But I think we need to change things, and I think that when we're talking about colorectal cancer, you just don't know. It could be someone you love, someone you care about, someone that you do know. I think we need to find a way to have people understand that cancer is going to be the new normal, and we have to get ahead of it earlier. If there's one thing that I can say to anyone is that if you have any signs or symptoms or a history of it in your family, is ask your doctor to get tests done and check out what you're feeling. You have to trust your instincts. I tried for a long time, and because everyone looked at me and said you're just too young for there to be a problem, it was brushed off and it was left too long. Now I'm still here. It's been 6 years of fight. I just got cleared to move my scans, blood work, everything up. Originally I get followed every 6 weeks. I do colonoscopies every year, and now I've finally been pushed up to 2 years for colonoscopies, blood work every 6 months. Things are moving up. Things look good for me. The prognosis is good. I've had no reoccurrence in the last 3 years, and I attribute that to the immunotherapy and to the lifestyle change and to my wife and my kids or my friends and those who have constantly pushed me to just keep going. And that's kind of the person that I am, is I don't feed or give fuel to the bad in life. And I think that we can all sort of agree that life isn't fair sometimes, but it's what you make it. It's what you make of it. And I see the beauty in life and living for a long time, for as long as I can. But again, I'm a God-fearing man, so when your ticket's up, it's time to go. But not yet. Not for me. And if I'd like to bring awareness and keep as many of us around as long as possible. Thank you very much.